Okay. Grant has notified us that we're on air. The regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation of Laguna Woods, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation, this Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, 9:30 a.m. Laguna Woods, California, will come to order. The meeting will come to order. So Director Horton will now lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. Of course, we can't hear you, Yvonne. Grant, can you turn Yvonne on? There we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. I think I got that right. Thank you.
Good morning. Okay, I acknowledge the media. And then the next order of business is the approval of the agenda. And the items on the agenda that I would like to change, if there's no objection, is to move 11B to 12B. So 11B is the committee appointments, and we'll move it to 12B, unfinished business, and then move 12B, which is the COVID report, to the CEO report. I'm sure Jeff will be giving a report at that point in time.
13.
And then, on future agenda items, I'd like to add B, which would be the broadband report by Media and Communications. So if there are no objections, okay, if there are no objections, please let me know if there are any objections. And if there are none, then the corrected agenda is approved. Okay, Bert? Can't hear you. Grant, could you turn Bert on?
I'm on. I said there has been no motion made for approval of the agenda, so I will make that motion.
Okay.
It does not have to be seconded, but I would also like to amend it. Since the ad hoc energy group
doesn't have to have a
part
motion.
of the M&C committee, rather than having that report as, let me see if I can find it, as K, 15K, that really should be moved up to 15E1, sub 2, beneath the clubhouse renovation report. And so those are both subcommittees of the M&C committee.
Okay.
You are correct. It should be moved up to E, is what you're saying.
That's what
E2.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other additions or corrections? So if there are no further additions and corrections, if there are no objections, the corrected agenda is approved. All right. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of January 4th, 2020, special open meeting board officers. Are there any objections?
Any corrections?
Any corrections? Hearing none, the minutes of January 4th, 2020, special open meeting board officers is approved. The next would be the approval of the minutes of January 5th, 2020, regular open meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I have a small Scrivener's. On page 1 of the minutes, call to order has 2 twos. So take the second 2 out.
Okay.
That's all.
Are there any other corrections?
No.
If there are no further corrections, if there is no objection, the minutes of January 5th, 2020, regular open meeting, as corrected, is approved. Okay, thank you. So the next item would be report of the chair. And the biggest change for GRF this last month is the GRF bylaws. And the effort took almost a year to collaborate with each board and legal counsel for the proposed changes. So the efforts by the ad hoc was to consider all the board's needs. And I will continue to talk about this a little bit more in my interview with Lisa Hart on TV6 on February 4th. So at this point in time, I want to introduce you to Leslie Mogul. So Leslie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I'm representing the Village Community Fund, which is a nonprofit 501c3 community benefit organization. And the Village Community Fund was created about 4 years ago by a group of Laguna Woods residents to create a nonprofit that would raise money for projects and programs that benefited seniors in the greater Laguna Woods community. I'm the director of philanthropy. It's an all-volunteer board, and we work with clubs within Laguna Woods on fundraising for projects that need to be supported. To date, we've helped the video club raise money. We've raised money for clocks for the golf course. We've raised money for COVID projects. And our most recent fund project is working with the ad hoc committee on a Help the Herd project, where we're raising money to benefit the Equestrian Center and the horses in the Equestrian Center. And we started just at the beginning of December, and I'm pleased to present to GRF a check for $2,000 from the Village Community Fund designated for Help the Herd. We have a team, a combination of representatives from VMS, the Village Community Fund, the Saddle Club, the Equestrian Center, and Recreation that have been working on this whole project. Our initial goal is to raise $10,000. To date, we've raised over $4,000. So in a short amount of time, we'll be issuing an additional check for the money we've raised this month. And I've been working hand in hand with Susan Hemberger, who's in the Saddle Club. I'm also a member of the Saddle Club, and I got involved 2 years ago when I was volunteering at the Equestrian Center. And Susan's been doing an awesome job of PR. And half of our donations have come from $25 and $50 donations that come from residents within Laguna Woods that have never stepped foot on the Equestrian Center, but they've been seeing our publicity. And these are people that love animals. And we're excited because once the Equestrian Center reopens, we'll be able to invite a lot more people to the Equestrian Center. I want to turn this over to Susan because Susan can really talk more internally about the project. We also work with Laura, who's the manager at the Equestrian Center.
Thank you, Leslie. Good morning, everybody. So the Help the Herd fundraising campaign is seeking donations that will directly benefit the 8 GRF horses at the Equestrian Center. So we had the Equestrian Center supervisor come up with a diverse list of items that she would like to acquire for the horses. And the money that is raised, the $10,000 that we're trying to raise, is going to be used for things like new and upgraded tacks. She wants to get new saddle pads, fly sheets, protective boots for the horses. She wants to do improvements in each of their stalls, like getting stall mats and new feeders, and hopefully get fans in there so we can get some circulation going in those stalls in the summertime. And she'd also like to do some additional vet care service for our geriatric horses. So our committee appreciates the community supporting this project. Like Leslie says, the bulk of our donations have been from individual people making small donations that are interested in helping these horses. And if any of you would like to donate, you can go to villagecommunityfund.org. We have a website up there with additional information and a way to donate to the project. And I would just like to say on behalf of Mikey and Zach and Marino and Jerry and Rascal and Junebug, Belle and Patrick, those are our GRF horses in case you didn't know, we'd like to say thank you for your support in this project. Thank you.
Okay, the next item of business is the CEO report. Jeff?
Good morning, President Carpenter, and to the board and residents. Have a couple of updates with regards to the vaccine program that we instituted here at the village, and also some COVID numbers. So I'm going to start with COVID numbers just to let everybody in the village know. Obviously, we track this pretty much on a daily basis. Start off with some good news, and that is with regards to hospitalizations and ICU beds within Orange County. We're seeing a steady decline recently in the need for hospitals beds and ICU beds. We've dropped from over 1,500 in the hospitalization bed usage down to 1,362 as of yesterday. And our ICU beds are down to usage of 384, which was over 500 just a week ago. So that is good news. Some of the negative news, I guess to put it that way, unfortunately in Orange County, the number of people who have passed away from COVID-19 has increased over 150 individuals in the last week. We're over 3,100 people throughout the time frame that this started back in March of last year. So unfortunately, 3,100 people passing away in Orange County is a significant number. Our cases also have gone down to a number that's was in the 3,000s a couple of months ago, starting in the top of December. And we're down under to 1,300 as far as positive cases. Again, that's a good trend that we're seeing. However, I do want to note that within the city of Laguna Woods, which we are a big part of, the numbers have actually gone up a little bit in the last week. We were at, last Friday, we were at 341 cases and 27 deaths. And we are, we're at 341 cases right now and 27 deaths. And as of Friday, just a couple of days ago, we were at 327 cases and 24 deaths. So gone up 3 unfortunate deaths in Laguna Woods, the community, and our cases have gone up about just under 20. So that's a trend that we still want to make sure everybody understands, that the COVID cases are still happening out there. There's some new strains out there that have now reached Orange County, and so that's a concern that everybody is talking about. So again, I just want to, wear your mask, social distancing, all of those requirements are still there. The state has moved out of the stay-at-home order and gone back to what they now call county-to-county tier system, which is a colored tier system, as people probably remember. And we are in the highest tier, which is the purple tier, as people know it. The critical elements of the purple tier is the amount of cases per 100,000. We're at 46.6% per 100,000. In order to go into the red tier, we have to get down to 8. So at 46, getting down to 8, we still have quite a ways to go. In the percentage of cases, active cases, we're at 12.9%. We have to get that below 8. So we still have quite a ways to go to get out of the purple. However, the purple category does allow us to have activities in Orange County reopening. Outdoor dining is available, so we're working with Tony over at Clubhouse 19, or the Restaurant 19, to get activities out there in the patio and his operation going again with regards to that. And certainly our outdoor activities, we can continue to move forward with the operations that we've had in place and continue to do that with some exceptions. And we talk about those on a regular basis. Now on to the vaccination program. Very exciting. For the last 2 weekends, for those that have been involved as volunteers, I want to say thank you. And for those that have had the opportunity, we started a program and started working with Memorial Care and Orange County Health to see if we could get a vaccination clinic here in Laguna Woods just for our residents. Knowing that we have a very high population that is in the high risk category, we focused it and started to focus on 75 and older category. So just for everybody's reference, we have over 9,000 residents out of our 18 plus thousand that are in that 75 plus category. So our desire and activities were concentrated about, let's get the 75 plus vaccinated first, and then we could move into the rest of our community. In the meantime, the state moved towards the 65 and plus category, but we have still continued to focus on the 75. We want to get that accomplished first before we move into the 65 plus. So the good news, in the 2 weekends, we have now vaccinated, we just wrapped up a report last night, over 5,000 of our residents have been vaccinated here at the village. So that's real exciting. And we're moving towards getting everybody in that 75 category who wants to get vaccinated to get in here and get vaccinated in the next couple of weekends. We know that a lot of people are using the county system or declining, and that's fine. We want to encourage people, especially that are 65 and over, to use the Othena, and that's OTHENA, Othena process to go through the county and get, you can get vaccinated because they're running all the time at Disneyland and over at SoCa. So if you're interested, that's www.othena.com, and you can register that way as well. Our process, we're working with Memorial Care to do the process with regards to getting the notification out for vaccines. We're also using our code red to notify people because we're getting into the situation where not everybody has a email address or a computer, so we're using both systems. Working with Memorial Care, they're developing a new portal so people will be able to go onto that portal, put in their resident ID, and it'll pop up when their vaccination time frame is, when their appointment is. If it doesn't show up, then they can, that means that they're still in the queue, and we have our telephone hotline that can help address that as well. We've been working on putting that portal together, and Memorial Care has been diligently putting that together. We hope that we're going to have it out today, but it looks like we'll probably have it all loaded today and ready to go sometime tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that, because I think that's going to relieve some of the pressure with people finding out when their appointments are or when they're going to be rescheduled for their second shot. So we'll be using that in both cases. As I indicated, the 5,000, we had a really good day on Sunday. The weather was very good. So we did over 1,100 vaccinations on Sunday. And last thing I just want to say is there are a lot of people out there that you probably know who have shown interest in getting the vaccine, but they're housebound. They don't have the ability to directly get down to Clubhouse 7 to get the vaccine. If you know of anybody or if anybody's contacted you, please follow the following track is that we would like to get that information logged into our computer system. So if you could email us at info@lagunawoodsvillage.com. That's info@lagunawoodsvillage.com. We're going to collect that data, and we're going to work with Memorial Care about trying to create a situation where we can go into that individual's home and get them direct access to the vaccine if they're unavailable to get transportation or they're in a physical state that they can't. So we're working with that program. We want to collect the data first, and then we'll be working with Memorial Care to figure out what the best process is to reach those people who need or want the vaccination but just can't reach us at Clubhouse 7. So that's a real, again, I just want to thank all of the volunteers, especially a shout out to Diane Phelps and Joan Brown. They've been working this process for the whole time, and they've gathered a bunch of volunteers together, a great team, and the wonderful people at Memorial Care. I can't say enough about that. And to our team here at VMS, Eileen Paulin, who's led the charge, and Siobahn, and everybody in the team, Carlos of our logistics. Wow, what a team. And to do this kind of really quick, because it came on us really fast, and we're doing the best we can to get as many people in the village vaccinated as we possibly can. And the pudding is, the results of this pudding is that with 5,000, it probably is the best news that we can give to Orange County Health and to the state that we've been doing it right, we've been effective, and that means that we'll continue to get more vaccines. Because that's really what the notice was when we originally started. If you don't do it right, if you don't get the shots in the people's arms, we're not going to give you any future doses. So that's a real critical path that we keep our eyes on, and we're very happy that we've been able to accomplish this. So that ends my report on those two items. I'm going to turn it over to Siobahn. She's got a couple of things, and then if there's any questions, Bunny, I'd be glad to answer them too.
Thank you, Jeff. Honorable President, members of the board, I have a few announcements for you this morning, please. The first is about virtual new resident orientation. Residents who are new to the village are encouraged to attend a virtual new resident orientation meeting. These informational sessions are an opportunity for new residents to become familiar with the operating rules of your mutual and to talk to a board member who represents your mutual. The next third mutual orientation sessions will be Wednesday, February 17th at 4:30 p.m., Friday, March 19th at 9 a.m. The next United Mutual orientation sessions will be Friday, February 9th at 9 a.m. and Wednesday, March 5th at 4:30 p.m. To register for an orientation session, please email Executive Assistant Becky Jackson at becky.jackson@vmsinc.org. And again, that's becky.jackson@vmsinc.org. There is also a new schedule for the coin exchange program for laundry quarters. This week, the coin exchange program will be offered today, Tuesday, February 2nd at Clubhouse 5 for Third Mutual residents, and then Thursday, February 4th at the Performing Arts Center for United Mutual residents. Beginning February 18th, the coin exchange program will be offered once a week on Thursdays from 8 a.m. to noon or until the supplies run out. The new schedule will be as follows. The first and third Thursdays of each month at the Performing Arts Center for United Mutual residents, and the second and fourth Thursdays of each month at Clubhouse 5 for Third Mutual residents. No coins will be offered on the fifth Thursday of a month. There are also new pool hours in effect. Pools 1, 2, 4, and 5 have new hours. Pool 1 is open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily and opens at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Pool 2 is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily and opens at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. Pool 4 is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. Pool 5 is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily and opens at 9 a.m. on Thursday. You may make required reservations up to a week in advance. These can be made via the court's online reservation system or by telephone between 10 a.m. and noon, Monday through Friday, by calling the Recreation Department at 949-597-4382. Again, that's 949-597-4382. And lastly, just a reminder that the next free bulky item pickup will be Saturday, February 20th. If you're interested in participating, please notify Resident Services before setting out your bulky items. The number for Resident Services is 949-597-4600. And again, that pickup is Saturday, February 20th. And that concludes my updates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, I just have one question. Is this announcement on the portal and also the info lagunawoods.com, is this going to be announced to the residents right away? And are there going to be step-by-step instructions on how to go to the Memorial Care portal?
There is.
Yes?
To that, Bunny, yes. We have actually, on Monday, we put it up on TV6 as well, providing that information to our residents, and with the blast, getting that information out. So yes, absolutely, we'll be getting that out, plus information as to how to use the portal once it gets up and operating.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the open forum. So is it Becky that's going to be leading that? How many speakers do we have today?
Madam President, it's actually Eileen Paulin that'll be reading today, and we have 2 comments.
Okay, so we only have 2 comments, so at this point in time, we can have 3 minutes per speaker, and the members may address the board of directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of this board of directors. So the board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum, and if they would like to participate, they should call 949-268-2020 or email meeting@vmsinc.org to request to speak. So go ahead, please.
So the first comment is from Suzanne Frank from the Laguna Woods Tennis Club. Good morning. I'd like to propose that instead of closing the tennis courts and driving range until all residents have been vaccinated, that you consider allowing those who want to play to park at Clubhouse 2 and walk across the street to the courts and the range. You had us do this back in April, the first week the tennis courts reopened, and it seemed to work very well. We can inform our club members to park at Clubhouse 2, and I know that they would be grateful that the courts are open. We have many members who still work and can only play on the weekends and evenings. For those residents who are not tennis club members, your security personnel can simply ask them to park across the street. This seems like a very doable solution. Thank you for considering it, Suzanne Frank.
Thank you.
Our second comment is from resident Jenny Park at 5508C. Good morning. I received an invoice for some plumbing work about a week ago and wanted to know why I had to pay a service fee for work that left me with leaking pipes. I've lived here 17 years and I've never had to pay any fees until now. Why is that? And that is all the comments we have at this point.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the directors want to respond? Okay, Joan? Joan, okay.
Yes, I think the the idea of the tennis club residents walking across the street is a good idea. And I would think if there's no objection to that, that would be fine.
Bert?
Microphone.
Yeah, turn on your microphone.
With regard to the leaky pipes, I believe that is a mutual consideration, not a GRF consideration. So I think, whoever's writing that response or writing that request should go to the mutual. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other responses?
Bunny, if I may, with regards to the request on the tennis court, we're looking at that, and if we think that we can accommodate walk-ups to the tennis facility if they park over at Clubhouse 2. What we are concerned about is the additional use of golf carts reaching the area because of the conflict of the cars coming in and the golf carts. So, but if we do it to walk-ups, I think we can make that adjustment so that there could be weekend play.
Okay, great. So is Recreation going to contact, I think it was Suzanne Frank, right?
Suzanne, right. We'll be in touch with
okay.
Suzanne, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes?
Good morning. I just wanted to let you know that I'll be providing a response. I'll look into what the issues were with the plumbing at that matter, and we'll be happy to provide a response directly to the resident.
Oh, thank you, Ernesto. So Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Ernesto. I would suggest that when a resident uses GRF for a mutual complaint like this, that the appropriate committee on GRF refer that to the appropriate committee and staff at the mutual level, so that we are responding to the residents' requests.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any other comments? Okay, if there are no further comments, the next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended by action by committee and will be enacted by the board by one motion. In the event an item is removed from the consent calendar by members of the board, such item shall be subject for further discussion and action by the board. So, item 11A is a recommendation from the Finance Committee. A is consistent with its statutory obligations. The subcommittee of the board, consisting of the treasurer and at least one other board member, reviewed and approved preliminary Golden Rain Foundation financials for the month of December 2020, and by this vote ratify that such review be confirmed in this month's board member open session meeting minutes. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the consent calendar is approved. So the next item, yes?
Just add by unanimous consent.
Oh, okay, thank you. By unanimous consent, the consent calendar is approved. So the next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and that is to entertain a motion to approve a resolution to update the Recreation and Special Events Department policy to include security officers at special events. January initial notification would be 28-day notification for member review. Carlos, I see that you're here. Do you want to speak to that? Oh, I'm sorry, Joan, you need to read the resolution first.
Okay. Resolution 9021XX. Whereas the Recreation and Special Events Department is responsible for the planning and execution of comprehensive recreation programs and events for all residents of Laguna Woods Village. And whereas Laguna Woods Village offers 7 different reservable facilities for club events, resident parties, and general gatherings. Facilities are able to accommodate groups as small as 2 people in a conference room, dinner parties up to 400 guests, and large indoor-outdoor events up to 800 participants. And whereas the Security Services Department provides continuous 24-hour security operations for the Laguna Woods Village through the use of field supervision, routine motor patrol, routine foot patrol operations. Now therefore, be it resolved, February 2nd, 2021, that the Board of Directors hereby approves amendment to the Recreation Special Events Department policy to allow clubs and residents to obtain fee-based security services when hosting specialty events at the overtime bill rate for the Security Services Department. Resolve further that select specialty club resident events have security officers present for the safety of residents, guests, staff, and property. Events requiring security officers will be determined by type, location, estimated attendance, the serving of alcohol beverages, high-profile guest appearances, and/or events that draw attention from the news media. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution.
Is there a second? Bert? Okay, there's a second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, Maggie?
I'd like to amend the motion to add a 4th whereas. Whereas to date, only outside entities have been available to supply event security for residents and guests and lessees. Residents and guests.
Okay, would you repeat that? It sounds logical to me, but please repeat that.
It
so
says,
we can make a note.
whereas to date, only outside entities have been available to supply event security for residents and guests.
Is there any objection? Basically, her statement is just a clarification. I won't say just. It is a clarification, and doesn't change the resolution.
No, it just clarifies. That's right.
Oh, but right. You have to have a vote.
Okay. All those in favor? Joan? So I see 1, 2, 3.
Some are voting in the chat room.
5. And John says yes, so we have 6. Okay, 7. Okay. Thank you. So we have 7. So the motion is passed.
The amendment's approved. The amendment.
All right, thank you.
Now you vote on one.
Okay, thank you. All right. So the next item on the agenda is new business.
No, Madam Chair. Sorry, Bunny. We still need to vote on the entire resolution as amended. You just take a vote on this resolution as amended.
Right.
if there's no further discussion.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the resolution as amended.
Got it.
Okay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. The resolution as amended is passed. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is actually the changes to the GRF committee appointments. Okay. There's some minor changes, but I can go ahead and read all of the changes, and then if there's no objections, okay, Joan?
I need to read, there are changes that are in it, and then we can read your changes, the further changes. So I need to read the resolution, the changes in the resolution now. And
okay.
Then you add the other changes in the discussion.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and read the changes.
Okay, resolution 9021XX, GRF committee appointments. Resolved February 2nd, 2021, that the following persons are hereby appointed and ratified to serve on the committees of this corporation. Under Business Planning Committee, John Proston is removed. Under Strategic Planning Committee, Gan Mukapati has become an alternate, and Kash Ashrakar has been added as an alternate for United. Under Community Activities Committee, Bunny Carpenter has become an alternate for GRF. Under Finance Committee, John Proston's removed. Egon Garthofner has become the alternate for GRF. Diane Casey is added as the alternate for United. Under Maintenance and Construction Committee, Bert Moldau has become the alternate for GRF. Under Media and Communication, Bunny Carpenter has become the alternate for GRF. And then under that same thing, Broadband Ad Hoc Committee is new, and members of that committee include Joan Milliman, Chair, Jim Hopkins, GRF, John Proston, GRF, Annie McCary, 3rd, Debbie Dotson, 3rd, Advisor is Rader. Now I need to add Lynn Jarrett, 3rd. Add Lynn Jarrett to Broadband Ad Hoc. Okay. Under Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Joan Millam is an alternate for GRF. Under Security and Community Access, Bert Moldau has become an alternate for GRF, and Reza Bastani has been added from United. Under Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Diane Casey has been added from United, and Andre Tung has been removed from United. And that's all I have on the printed list.
Okay, thank you. In addition to that, the Energy Solutions ad hoc is a subset to maintenance and construction, and so we need to change that to make sure that it comes under construction. And and we also Sue's name, we need to make sure that we get that corrected, which is yes, okay. So we'll get her last name corrected, Stepheness.
Under what?
Under the Energy Solutions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I do want to make a comment, about the alternate. Okay. Since GRF has new bylaws, our standing committee structure has changed. So there are 2 GRF committee members instead of 3 to each standing committee. But so the 3rd member is now an alternate and may not vote, but we definitely want to, they will be invited to all the meetings because of their value of the input. And as suggested, it will be based, we can have a discussion later on in regards to how we would like to alternate, those who are listed as alternates, so that it's fair for everybody to be able to vote. My thinking was every 3 months, we could have it every 2 months, but that will be up to the board, basically, how they want to manage that alternate. Okay, Joan?
I move we approve the committee.
President Carpenter, I would also like to bring to your attention the addition of the strategic planning subcommittees that were added in addition to the stated committee changes.
Okay.
This was sent to the board previous to this meeting.
Okay, would you give Joan that information?
Yes, one moment.
Grant?
I have Gann as an alternate and John as chair and James as the second.
For the Strategic Planning Committee, there is added the Customer Experience Subcommittee, which includes John Pearlstone, GRF, Kush Bada, 3rd, Robert Muchnick, 3rd, and Andre Toring, United. There's also the Facilities Subcommittee, which is Gamakapada, GRF, Kush Bada, 3rd, Carl Randazzo, United. Then there is the Future Strategic Planning Items Subcommittee, which is James Hopkins, GRF.
I can't write all that down, but I assume you're going to put it down. Okay.
Okay, I'm not even aware of this facilities subcommittee. The only one I was aware of was the first one that he mentioned.
Customer Experience Subcommittee.
The facility subcommittee was established at the last strategic planning committee meeting. It's nothing more than trying to get a laundry list of everything related to facilities that we might discuss over time. There'll be no work performed on it until the customer experience, which we determined was our top priority, is completed, or at least well along the way and approved by everybody it needs to be approved by.
Right, because this information wasn't submitted, to us so that we could put it on the appointed committees list. Okay, so do we have all the information for staff?
It was delivered to every board member already. We've already seen it as a supplement to the current agenda. I don't know if it was sent via email or delivered, but it exists. We can get it to Joan, no problem, so she can record it.
Thank you, John.
Well, I received it today or yesterday by email.
Yeah.
So it was delivered.
Probably too, but sometime. Okay, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the GRF committee appointments with all the additions and subtractions.
Okay, there's a second. Maggie seconded it. Okay, thank you. Are there any other additions or corrections? If there are no further additions and corrections or objections, then the amended committee assignments are approved.
By unanimous consent.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, that was a mouthful.
Good job.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, the next order of business is to entertain a motion to approve the Equestrian Center additional fees, service and fees. And Joan, would you read the resolution? And I just want to make a comment, on that. It was really hard, for me to see. And so the changes to the resolution, I don't know if you, I would almost think that that's all you would need to read is the change to the resolution.
There is no change to the resolution. It's in there. What they need is in there.
Okay, so I would.
Point of order. The agenda shows that item 13A comes before item 13C.
Yes, I'm sorry. And you're absolutely right. So let's go back. New business, discuss and consider planned maintenance construction projects and programs for 2021. I myself, am not quite clear why this actually came to the board to discuss, since there was no action to be taken by the board. Okay. Before I continue, there's no motion here, so I will let Ernesto speak and let me know why this is actually coming before the board, and then we can continue after that.
Very good, Madam President, honorable board members. I will provide you an explanation as to why this is in front of you today. The MNC chair requested a review of all projects before they could be initiated. It was mentioned that there seems to be some doubt as to the scope of this project and how they're to move forward. So staff is revisiting the list of projects we approved through the budget process for execution. As you know, during the budget process, staff presents a detailed description of the proposed capital budget. Staff also includes the detailed requests from the various departments and answers all questions in each and every project before the board adopts the final budget. This is the process, not only for GRF, but for all three corporations. We have a total of 19 capital projects for GRF this year, but we have a total of 62 projects and programs that we're executing for all three corporations with the same staff. So as you know, the board and all members are provided a project update as this project moves through execution. Staff puts together a project log, which we update on a monthly basis. And the project log essentially updates all the information relative to tracking of the project, where the funding is, where the funding came from, how much funding has been spent, all of the items that have been completed, the items that remain to be completed. We provide a project description and all of the contracting details in the project log. Now, all of the decision points where a contract needs to be awarded or a change order needs to be approved or any material change to the scope of work that the board approved, it's all brought to the committee for discussion and final recommendation to the board. So today, what I wanted to do, because it takes a tremendous amount of effort for staff to get all of these projects and programs going on any given year, seeing that we're processing all of this, not only for GRF, but for all of the three boards. I think it's important that if there is going to be any changes to this project, that the staff is let know early on in the year so that we can make whatever adjustments need to be made. I have listed every single project in here that you adopted through the budget process. And again, I'm not going to go through every project. I just want to make sure that if there's anything that the board wants to change, that staff has provided direction to do that. Now, the board or committee may change the scope of work of any of these projects, but the caveat to that is that once a scope is changed for any of these projects, you essentially have a new project. And what the result of that is that delays will most likely be incurred for this project, because we will have to re-advertise the project. We will have to review the new scope with the committee back and forth. It could be several times. So again, it's a very tight process for staff to execute a total of about 70 projects and programs for all three boards. And any changes in scope to any of these projects will result in delays. So I'm just bringing that up because I think it's important that we all realize that we go through a very robust process of approving these projects through the budget process. We provide detailed descriptions of what the scopes are. We provide estimated costs for the various projects. All questions are answered from the board. The directors from various departments are available for comments on their specific projects that are being requested. Also, the board knows that we put together a 5-year capital improvement program for you so that you can prioritize the projects and programs for the given year that you're adopting a budget for. So there's a significant body of work that takes place for the boards to ensure that you know what you're approving, what the scopes of works are, and what the budget process is for those. So again, that's why this is in front of you today, and we're looking for direction as to whether the board is interested in putting a hold on any of these projects, or defunding or deferring, or whatever decision may be made. The critical issue, as I mentioned, is the timing, because we're already in February, and just the large number of projects and the large funding that we have to spend for you, it's, we're looking at $37.8 million just for GRF, about $7 million. So it's difficult spending your money, and we want to make sure that we have some clear direction as to where we need to go with this project and program so that we can begin to execute them for you. So any questions, I'd be happy to entertain for you.
Okay, first of all, before we entertain some discussion here, I just want to let you know that I appreciate, that staff is bringing this review before the MNC so that they understand basically what the projects that they're looking forward, that they need to be apprised of these projects at the beginning of the year. And I have to say that I did suggest that, that it would be nice if staff would be able to, at the beginning of the year, work with MNC and let them know all the projects. Now, one of the problems we have here is the Green Book hasn't been published yet. So there's no way, that they would know what all these projects are or the 5-year, plan. So I was the one that actually suggested that. And the other thing that I want to make absolutely clear, okay, is the fact that we have a purchasing policy which actually dictates the approval process, okay? And I think there's always been some confusion with staff because of the fact that we have two different approval processes. We have construction process, and then we have an AX process. But all of those for capital expenditures, through the construction means that we follow the purchasing policy, which means all the estimates that are given at the time of budget is exactly that, an estimate. And the final approval comes from the board with the actual cost. And if the M&C committee says that they need to review that statement of work, it says that in the purchasing policy. Not only that, it says it in the charter, that they would like to review the statement of work. I realize, and I've been very aware of all of these, problems going forward. And at one time, and I'm adding some of my history here. At one time, it was suggested that all three boards get together, look at the projects. We did not want to overload staff. Okay, we wanted to make sure that those projects that we were bringing forth for the following year could be fully supported. And that way they would get together and be able to prioritize. So I am going to suggest that possibly be done again. It's just my recommendation. So any other comments? Jim?
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, it seems as though there's the entire process now of the planning and estimating and execution of projects needs to be thoroughly reviewed. In fact, that's one of the tasks that the Financial Committee was going to tackle this year. There's a disconnect because there's a technical formation of the projects that, generally speaking, comes from finance through a technical process. That brings up a project, and then it's handed over during budget time with a 5-year projection. And then those projects come up for execution, for review by M&C, and then execution, assuming approval by M&C. I think it's premature at this point for the entire list that was in the budget to be brought to the committee, to the board for any level of approval, since it was essentially approved for consideration in the budget. I don't think the M&C committee is, at this point, can say, let's do this now, or let's do that this year. I think it requires a coordination of the staff as well as the M&C committee to see whether or not it's possible to even consider execution of these things, of these items this year. So I think this is a little premature. It's good to see it, but I think there's work to be done at the committee level in order to make this happen. And I'd like to get into understanding the entire process a little bit, because I think the process is broken, that it actually comes up in a meeting like this.
Right. Okay, Bert. And then Ernesto. Okay, Bert.
Yeah, I think Jim is correct in what he's saying. This should have been brought before the M&C committee, not before the board. I went through the list and I find that there are several things that are missing, as well as there are additions that need to be made. And I would think that the time to discuss this would have been at the M&C committee, not at the board.
Yeah. Okay, is there, and Ernesto?
Well, Madam President, I want to hopefully provide a little bit of clarity for what Jim was stating. Traditionally, or at least for the 4 years that I've been with the company, the process has been that these projects are provided to the board through the budget process. The board reviews them thoroughly, and they come up, they are also provided estimates to execute this project. Subsequent to adoption of the budget, staff runs with this project and executes them for the board. It's as simple as that. This is not unique to VMS. It's not unique to Laguna Woods Village. This is typically the way the work is done in all municipalities and other public institutions. Once you approve the budget and once you approve the scope of work that's presented to you through the budget process, staff, essentially has a green light to move forward and start executing these projects for you. There's no, if we want to submit this list consideration at this point, there's really nothing to consider. The board has already approved it. So at this point, you have professional staff and professional consultants that you've hired to execute these projects for you. Now, these projects are in the process of being executed right now as we speak. And we bring these projects to the MNC for direction on items that are questionable, for direction on approval of contracts, for direction on approval of contract change orders, for any changes that are made to scope of work. The scope of work is laid out to the committees, so there's really full transparency in this. And it's just, I'm not really sure you're saying that this list is incomplete. This list is the exact same list that the board approved. It's what you're going to see in your green book. It's what's in your budget right now, and it's what's in the project log that we distribute on a monthly basis. There's really nothing new, nothing more, nothing less. So, you know, if we're going to have additional discussion on this project, we'll be happy to put them on hold so the discussion occurs. But I can tell you that they're not going to be done this fiscal year. So we need specific direction. If the board already approved this project, and you had a scope and you had an estimate, then staff is just looking to move on them. So we need direction on this, Madam President.
Okay, I'm going to make a comment, you know, and then I'll go on to this. Ernesto, ever since you were hired, you and I worked on the purchasing policy, okay? And we incorporated that purchasing policy with each one of the boards. They follow it. And you know me, I follow it. And the idea, you know, that we're going to go forward, you know, because it's approved by the budget was never the intent. The intent was that we have an estimate in the budget, and that when it became before the MNC, you know, at that point in time, they go through the process, the RFP process, the evaluation of the statement of work, which actually states that in the purchasing policy. And then they make the recommendation to the board so that we are approving the actual dollars. So this has been in place since 2016. Okay, so,
right. So that's exactly, Madam President, that's exactly the process that we follow. Just because an estimate is provided, we don't necessarily use that estimate to execute a contract. We go out to bid. We put together scope of works, more detailed scope of works. We put together requests for proposals. We go through a bid process, and all of that work that takes place to ensure that you have competitive contractors, competitive consultants on board, and that we're executing the scope of work as the board approve it. All that work takes place way before anything is put in front of the committee for recommendation to the board. So the purchasing policy is followed to the letter, and you know that very well, Bunny, because we worked together for many years.
Right. Okay. Any other comments? All right. Let's see who's first. I'll go Joan, Jim, and then Bert. Okay.
So it seems to me that this is simply a review of what's going to be coming up in the year, and the MNC committee will continue their work on it, and the staff will continue their work. I don't understand why we have to get in the weeds here. Just go ahead and file this as a report, a good review of what's coming up, and let the MNC committee do its work.
Thank you, Joan. All right, Jim, and then Bert.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think it's, like I said, I still think it's a little premature. It's nice to see it, and that could have been done, simply via email or something. It's nice to see it. It doesn't require ratification or approval. And I still want to look into the entire process. When we look at it, even the federal government, when it has a capital project, requires continuing resolution every year to continue to move that project forward. And so when we have major projects that will go year over year, we need to really continue to evaluate that when they're major. And maybe we do that up front. But I think there's plenty within the process that can be amended so that we don't have this type of discussion in a board meeting when it should be at the, in my view, should be at the committee level.
Right. Okay, Bert? You got to turn on your audio there.
Okay, I think, let me just give an example of why the M&C has to be involved directly. If you look at what's in the list of jobs, they call for transfer switches being proposed for Clubhouse 4 and 6 in anticipation of emergency diesel generators for Disaster Planning Task Force. As you know, we have had in the Energy Committee working with Amoresco to do an evaluation of our energy infrastructure. Okay, they're doing a feasibility study at no cost to us, and they are going to be reporting to the M&C on February 10th. Now, what they are proposing, I've seen some preliminaries, okay, is totally different than the transfer switches and the diesel generators, okay, which basically really are becoming obsolete technology. We have absolutely new solutions to these type of problems. So it's to me, the Energy Committee has to present this to the M&C. Okay. The other aspect of this, by the way, is interesting, and I don't know how you solve it. The work that is being done by Amoresco is being done free of charge. There is no cost involved, nor would there be cost involved if we choose to go ahead with the type of work that they are proposing. This is called an energy as a service.
Point of order. I really appreciate what you're talking about, but it's a little off the subject here because we're talking.
Because this is essentially the argument as to why it belongs in M&C.
Well, what we're discussing is the projects.
Yes.
And whether it basically should go back to M&C rather than the specifics on the energy. And I want to tell you, I really, really appreciate all the work that you're doing on
this is why you go back to M&C, Bunny. Just for these reasons that I'm giving you.
All right. So, and I appreciate it. Okay. So, but I didn't want you to go on for 3 or 4 minutes, so I apologize. Okay. Right. Okay. Joan, and then Egon. Yeah.
Better do Egon first.
Egon. Okay.
What I wanted to say is what I've heard so far, a lot of sense on both sides. However, the process when we select the items that go into the Green Book, the detail we're giving is absolutely insufficient to even understand what the project involves. It's just given a headline and a couple of hints as to why we want it, and that's it. So there is absolute. Now I've mentioned that Betty Parker has said, "Hey, once it gets in the Green Book, it's approved budget." Heck no, it's a spending plan, which may or may not fly. I mean, if we were going to work on that, if the most detail goes into when you make a budget, at least in business, and when you make a budget in business, you have all that detail. There's no such thing anymore that after you get a project approved, now we go out and make up a work list. Your work list is for the budget. So we got the horse behind the cart this time around. So, and that's just my comment. If we want to review these projects here, that's perfectly okay with me.
Okay. Let's see who's next here. Okay. Oh, Jeff wanted to speak. Jeff? Joan and Jim, but I do think we ought to curtail this discussion. Okay, Jeff?
Sure. Thank you, Bunny. To the board, one of the things that, and the importance of bringing this forward is for twofold reasons, and that is the decision about a project, developing a 5-year capital project, developing a 1-year capital project that goes into your budget is that, and wanting to bring it forward is that, as you know, your boards change often. And you approved this budget in September and your board changes. Well, that means the potential is the direction changes. So one of the things that we want to be consistent is if you approve a budget in September, that these items are included, but you have a new board that doesn't want to do these items, then we need to remove them from the budget and not spend staff time on developing a plan. And an example of that is how even how staff for a long time was working with MNC and board members on Clubhouse 3, and then with a change in the board, we moved in a different direction. So when you look at the Green Book as a budget, we have to, and when we go through the budget process this year, if you're going to send your capital projects through MNC first, if that's what you'd like to do, and get MNC to say, these are the projects we want to do in 2022, and then to the board, and you get your board to agree or not agree, because your board may say, no, we like these 5 projects. Then you got to send it back through the process again. These are what you as a full board approved. You voted on your budget. This was in your budget. It's a budget plan. And now the details need to go back, just as Bunny said, and just as others have said. Now it goes back through the committee to do the details, the staff working on it, preparing the details, and then getting that to the MNC committee. But this budget plan is a plan that the board adopted, and I want to make sure that the board understands that you adopted this in September as your capital plan. So staff's working on that capital plan to bring it back, as Ernesto said, using the purchasing process, going through committee. We just want to make sure that we're lockstep with you guys on what the plan is.
Okay, Egon? And then, okay.
Well, we are going to ask for more detail this year round. Not a huge amount of detail, but we are going to at least get enough detail to understand what the project is. And I remember one of the projects that came up for the budget in this thing was the fix up the welding shop. And Sue of United had an objection to the amount of money and the process of what you're going to go through, and she suggested some alternate, and she was steamrolled right over. So that's the kind of thing, that's how we formed the budget is very cursory, very, very cursory. There's absolutely no detail and or no significant detail. And that's why Clubhouse 3 was such a failure. It was terrible what happened. The amalgamation of all that stuff was such a pile of stuff that it was hugely overpriced. We were going to put twice as much air conditioning into that plan as we need. And we wouldn't have done that if we hadn't broken it down piece by piece. And I have found that we're not capable of doing huge projects all at once and getting them worked right. That's my comment.
Okay. We have 3 more people, and actually I think the decision is it needs to go back to MNC, but I want 3 of these people to speak, and then I'm wondering if it's appropriate at that point to move on. Okay. So I'm going to say Ernesto, Jim, and then Joan.
So, Madam President, I have to speak to this issue because it's been put forth that the scope of work for the PAC was have to be reduced because it was wasteful. But the reality is that the board approved a plan to air condition future improvements for the PAC. The board approved as an alternate for the future to develop a black box theater in the PAC. That idea did not come from staff. It came from the board. There was also ideas to air condition other rooms for the PAC. So the air conditioning system that was originally designed was to accommodate those future uses. So it's not that it was designed as a wasteful system. It's just that it was designed for a totally different scope. Now, the MNC has changed that scope entirely. So there's really no savings from this. It's just that it's a totally different scope. It's a new project. So all of the future improvements that the board had commissioned an architect to design, which are paid and completed, those improvements at this point are not being considered as part of what we're doing with the PAC. So the air conditioning system is a perfect example. It had originally been designed to accommodate all those future uses. Well, those future uses are no longer, being considered. So you're right. The HVAC system, it's a totally different design system, and it's a much simpler design system at this point because it's not being designed to accommodate those future uses. So it's just a totally different scope of work, which is fine. But again, the only caveat to that is that as we go through that process, it adds months and months of additional work to the project and delays.
Thank you. Okay, I think Jim was next and then Joan.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm going to agree with everybody and what everybody said because from what their perspective, they are absolutely correct. It's the expectation the problem is the expectation of each organization in line with the process is slightly different. And so I look at the budget process for capital is a reserve process. And I think the numbers that are presented, and I'm going to call them technical numbers or pro forma numbers that come out of end of life calculation, and they're put in the budget as placeholders. Obviously, the closer you get to the current year, the closer you get to something that should look like an actual estimate of cost. But it is not the approval necessarily of the project in its detail. That's where the execution comes in, or even if there is an execution. And so that's one of the reasons we're looking at the committee as well as others are looking at the entire reserve process, which really is the forerunner of most large maintenance and capital projects. Because I think the process itself doesn't yield us the right results in order to be able to execute on a strategic level. And I'm not saying we'll have all the answers, but at least we're looking at everybody being on the same page at the end of the budget cycle. And I know this is very conceptual, and we try to deal with execution level activities, and it doesn't help this particular subject, but it is something that we're looking at for strategic value in terms of changing the process with everybody's input. So in summary, my take is this needs to go back to committee, back to the MNC committee, given the current process, while we work on a process that perhaps benefits everybody in the process.
Okay, Joan?
I move that we send this back to committee for the process to continue.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay. Okay, we have a second. All right. And if there are no objections, then we'll move this back to the MNC committee. And thank you for everybody's input.
By unanimous.
Thanks, Madam President.
By unanimous consent, Grant.
Okay. By unanimous consent, it's going to move back to the committee. Thank you. All right, so the next item is I need a motion to approve the Equestrian Center additional services and fees. Joan, do you want to read the resolution?
Resolution 9021XX, amended Equestrian Center pricing policy. Whereas, according to Resolution 90-12-132, which established guidelines for shared costs and fees, certain fees can be imposed upon users of various recreational facilities in order to control crowding, to minimize overusage, and to recover operating costs. And whereas the board periodically reviews fees as part of the business planning process to determine adequacy of revenues and shared costs, and their adoption of the 2021 business plan included certain fee changes. Now therefore be it resolved February 2nd, 2021, that the Board of Directors of the corporation hereby introduces a revised GRF pricing policy relative to the Equestrian Center. Horse boarding. First, a horse boarding fee shall be charged monthly to residents who wish to board their horses or horse at the Equestrian Center. Next, the fee rounded up to the nearest dollar shall be based on the estimated monthly cost to board a resident's owned or leased horse and 70% shared, subsidized, that is, by the community at large. Next, the fee will be adjusted annually on the basis of changes to the operational costs, depreciation costs, and percentage shared by the community at large. Next, the GRF Board of Directors will periodically review the estimated monthly costs of boarded horses and determine what shared percentage to apply in order to maintain an equitable and reasonable division between the user and the monthly assessment per Resolution 90-12-132 guidelines for shared costs and fees. Next, the cost of feed will be fully absorbed by the resident based on their selection from the menu options. And next, specialty care services such as turnout, additional feed, lunging, and other types of services are established at a per-service cost determined by the board to be comparable to market value of services. Horse trailer storage and horse transportation fees. First, if space allows, residents may store their horse trailers at the Equestrian Center. The fee to store a horse trailer shall be 50% of the charge for a recreational vehicle in the RV storage lots. Next, GRF shall be reimbursed the cost of transporting a horse for a resident. The cost includes labor, fuel, and wear and tear on the trailer and vehicle. Trail ride fees. First, a separate fee shall be charged for trail rides for residents and their guests or guests. Next, the fees rounded up to the nearest dollar shall be based on the estimated hourly cost of labor and the cost of the horse used to meet the trail ride. And for residents, 64% shared or subsidized by the community at large, but for guests, a 25% markup. Next, the fee will be adjusted annually on the basis of changes to the operational costs, depreciation costs percentage shared by the community at large for residents, and percentage markup for guests. Lesson fees. First, fees shall be charged for individual and group lessons for residents and their guests or guests. Next, the fees rounded up to the nearest dollar shall be based on the estimated hourly cost of labor and the cost of the horse used to provide the lesson. And for residents, 64% shared by the community at large. And for guests, 25% markup. Next, the fee will be adjusted annually on the basis of changes to the operational costs, depreciation costs, percentage shared by the community at large for residents, and percentage markup for guests. Horse rental fee. First, a resident fee and a guest fee shall be charged for the use of a GRF-owned horse for lessons and trail rides. Next, fees rounded up to the nearest dollar shall be based on the estimated hourly cost of a GRF-owned horse, and for guests, 64 shared, that is subsidized by the community at large, and for guests, a 25% markup. Next, the fee will be adjusted annually on the basis of changes to the operational costs, depreciation costs, percentage shared by the community at large for residents, and percentage markup for guests. Resolved further that this resolution shall be effective March 2nd, 2021, and resolution 90-20-20 adopted May 5th, 2020 is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are directed on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move we pass this resolution for discussion at this point and postpone it for 28 days per Civil Code Section 4360.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Okay, Yvonne seconds it. So Brian, will you speak to the reason for this change? Because it basically was specific for proposed additional services and fees. So will you go forward, Brian?
Sure, I'll be happy to, Honorary President, and good morning, Board of Directors. So essentially, the equestrian services and fees were introduced in early January in collaboration with the ad hoc committee, the Equestrian Center ad hoc committee, and our new supervisor, Laura, essentially to provide additional services and programs to the boarders there. A lot of times, boarders may be on vacation, they may be ill, that prohibits them from caring for their horses. So in that event, we would like to offer a service that they can basically apply to, and we would cover those services for them at a fee. And you can see the fees outlined in Table 1. And these are based off of market research analysis of current fees at other equestrian facilities within the area here in Orange County. So they are comparable, and it is a full cost recovery program. So which means it is not, basically subsidized by the community. The boarder would cover all the expenses. And that is essentially it. So the services that we're looking at is dinner feeding, turnout, lunging, hand walking, feeding prepared with grain such as bags or buckets, and blanketing and fly sheet on and off. So these are just additional services that are traditionally offered at other equestrian facilities, and we would just like to offer those services here for our boarders at the Equestrian Center.
Okay, is there any further discussion? I have to say that I'm all in favor for this because it's really helping the boarders. That the Equestrian Center can provide those fees that were previously done by volunteers, and those volunteers are no longer available. And so if there's no further discussion, Bert?
Yeah, I've asked a question before, I never got an answer. These outside providers of this same service, are they subsidized or because they must be profitable if they're not subsidized. And so when I look at what they're charging, and then we say, well, we've got to be competitive, but the only way we can be competitive is to subsidize at 65 and 70%. It confuses me. I mean, are we so inefficient? And if so, somebody ought to do something about it. So can somebody tell me whether or not these outside providers of equestrian services are subsidized or not?
Okay, I'm thoroughly confused here. No, I know what you're talking about, but basically at this point in time, the only thing that we're talking about to get approved is these additional services offered by the boarders. And the other things that you're talking about as far as the percentage points of what's subsidized, all of the border fees, will be discussed at a later date. It's basically not the subject now. And if you look in the package there, you do see that they, for those particular services, they did go out and look and see that if we're comparable to the other stables that are offering the same service. So what you're talking about, Bert, has to be further analyzed, but it's not the focus of this particular meeting.
But are we subsidizing these fees?
No, not at all. And Brian, yeah, you can answer it. That's my answer. But Brian, why don't you answer it?
Yeah, so the proposed fee in the staff report, I mean, they are fully, the costs are fully recovered by the border. So they pay the full amount. There's no shared cost associated with these services that we're offering or proposing.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, is there any other questions? If there's no other discussion, are there any objections? So if there's no objections, the Equestrian Center additional services and fees is passed, and now we have the 28-day review. Thank you.
Right, unanimous.
Bye. Okay. At this point in time, I'm just going to ask if anybody wants to take a 5-minute break.
I do.
Okay. So we'll take a 5-minute break and come back, and then we'll go over the committee reports. Thank you. Is everybody back? I see Maggie's back, Joan's back, Egon. He's not back. Ann, okay. I'm going to go ahead and resume and see if Jim Hopkins is back.
I'm back.
Okay, great. So would you like to start with the committee reports, the report of the Finance Committee?
Sure. Should I begin with the Treasurer's report?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Can I have slide 1? Ah, wonderful. This is like magic. This is my first time using this magic, so bear with me. In slide 1, you'll see that through the reporting period of December 31st, the total revenue for GRF was $43.3 million, compared to expenses of $38.6 million, resulting in a net revenue of $4.7 million. Next slide, please. In slide 2, in finance, we keep a close eye on the operating portion of our financial results. The operating fund, that is without depreciation, shows a favorable variance of just under $2.1 million through the same reporting period. Slide number 3. The next chart shows the same actuals from the income statement, but compared to budget. GRF ended the period better than budget by $1.9 million, of which 2.3 was due to the closure of the facilities in mid-March, and a deficit of $600,000 was primarily due to insurance, and we'll go through that a little later. Slide 4. Okay. This slide shows you the favorable variances, and underneath that in orange, there are the unfavorable variances. First, we'll go through the favorable variances. Employee compensation and related expense is favorable by $2,473,000 due to employee furloughs during the COVID-19 pandemic. Other operating expense was $427,000 favorable due to the closure of facilities, again in mid-March, due to the COVID. The unrealized gain on investments was $422,000 favorable due to reporting of unrealized gain. This is an entry made monthly to reflect the investment, to reflect our investment. Market conditions will fluctuate. In community events, we had a $332,000 favorable experience. This is again through the shutdown effective March 12th. In materials and supplies, our favorable variance was $271,000. Okay. And that's primarily due to fleet maintenance services, janitorial services, streets and sidewalks, all impacted by the pandemic, less used by the pandemic. And to a lesser extent, the clubhouses were closed also during the pandemic. Now, unfavorable. The first one there is $567,000. Insurance was unfavorable due to the higher premiums of the renewal of our property and casualty insurance. The insurance increases were implemented after the 2020 budget was finalized. significant changes in market conditions, catastrophic losses, including the wildfires, had a serious effect on our insurance bill for 2020. Going down to looking at the clubhouse rental fees, again, we had an unfavorable variance there, okay, due to the closure of facilities on March 2nd. That's the revenue, the clubhouse rentals and event fees. In our trust facility funds, those are the funds that we get every time a unit is sold. There were 16% fewer units sold this year, resulting in a $476,000 negative variance, unfavorable variance in this year. Golf green fees, due to the closure of the facilities on March 12th, due to, again, the pandemic, we suffered an unfavorable variance there. Slide 5, please. Now, this shows you the relative, the proportion of non-assessment revenue that we generate, okay? To date, we have received $11.9 million. By category, you can see that the largest revenue is broadband services. That's the internet, your set-top boxes, and premium channels. It's followed by the trust facility fees, and that's a $5,000 fee from resales. Also included are golf green fees and operations. Slide 6, please. Slide 7, I'm sorry. Oh. Can you go back to slide 6? I didn't, thank you. In slide 6, we're showing that our expenses to date are $38.6 million, and that's including depreciation. They're shown on a pie chart so that we can see the relevant percent that those expenses take up. Obviously, employee compensation take up the largest expense, and our cable and programming fees take up the next largest. Slide 7. This slide shows the resale history from 2018 to 2020. Our community-wide sales of 694 units through December 20th are 133 less than the same period last year. Next slide, please. The reserve and contingency funds are shown with the adjusted balances below. Starting with the first column on the left, the funds have a combined ending balance of $31.8 million. Included in this total are contributions received this year through assessments, trust facilities fees, and interest earnings. The second column shows the work in progress of $8.1 million, reflecting the amounts paid for projects not yet complete. The third column represents the resulting adjusted balance of the funds, and that is $23.7 million. Slide 9, please. We compare our adjusted fund balances to historical balances for the past 5 years on the next chart. And as you can see, we've remained steady with a slightly rising increase in the fund balances. We will be looking at these balances for future years as we do a deep dive into the whole reserve process. Slide 10. This listing the listings on this slide give you an idea of where the reserve money is actually committed. Of the $24.4 million appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases, the remaining encumbrances against our reserve and contingency fund is $7 million, and that's primarily for renovation projects. And that concludes the treasurer's presentation. Any questions?
The Finance Committee report.
Okay. Well, the Finance Committee met on December 17th. At that time, we reviewed in a very broad level the malware spending and had a big discussion on it. We agreed to table discussion at that point in favor of a special meeting where we will review much more detail of it and also consider cyber insurance. We had that special meeting. At that special meeting, we voted to recommend that to the GRF board that we move forward with the expenditures on malware recovery, and we also voted to recommend to the board that cyber insurance be considered, not only considered, but taken to the ad hoc insurance committee for a specific recommendation of which insurance we should have. That has since been brought to the board, and board action has been taken. In the upcoming meeting, we will be starting to consider. We're having a reserve presentation. Again, we want to focus this year. One of the things we're focusing on are reserves and how they're calculated and how they should move forward. So we're going to be looking at reserves with a special presentation by the CFO for VMS on reserves at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is there anything else, Jim?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. So the next item would be the report from the Strategic Planning Committee. Director Prostone.
Thank you very much. In our last strategic planning meeting in December, we agreed upon some priorities, which was very exciting to have all the different mutuals represented and agreeing the direction we want to get started with. Staff seemed to support it as well. And you heard earlier about the subcommittees that were put together in order to facilitate some productive discussion. Instead of just putting a lot of generalities, we'll try to narrow it down, really talk about each priority, and then try to get an action plan to move forward. With the first priority being, we have a kind of a dual name for it, customer service / customer experience. Several committee members felt it was very important to get out in front of any discussions about facilities. So we felt it was worthwhile to do a subcommittee simply to identify what issues we'd want to talk about with facilities. So they're going to be meeting and they may even do that through email and, a Zoom type discussion or wherever. There may not be a formal meeting, just to get some broad brush information that the committee can review to see if we all think we've got that captured. But top priority is customer experience. We have a meeting this week on that. So Strategic Planning Committee is moving forward pretty much on schedule for what we're capable of doing, given the limitations with the information gathering from the malware issue. But we've got a meeting on Thursday, and we'll then be able to have a full Strategic Planning Committee meeting, which will get scheduled, I'm guessing, late February, and then hopefully have an update for the board in early March when we have our next board meeting. So I don't have an exact date for our next Strategic Planning Committee meeting, but progress is being made.
Okay. The next item is the report of the CAC committee. Would you like to report on that, John?
Sure. Not totally different in terms of where we're at. There's a lot of good projects going on to try to evaluate ways to raise revenue and manage fees in a way that our community would feel comfortable with the way we handle them year in and year out in terms of cost sharing. But everything has been sidelined, mostly due to the malware. We also had some staff illness. So the current month's CAC meeting was productive in the sense that all the administrative issues like the equestrian fees and other matters that needed to move forward were moved forward. But we have bigger projects we hope to get to, and we have a meeting on January 14th, which is also, I'm sorry, that's in January. What's the next meeting? I'm trying to find out my information here. Anyway, we've got a meeting this month. It's in February. I believe it's a week from Thursday. Yeah, February 10th. My apologies. 1:30. And it's an open meeting, so public's welcome to attend. And we'll hopefully get some clear direction and move forward on not only whatever's on the agenda to help make sure all these activities we're doing continue. Staff actively looks for other activities we can offer while under the purple level restrictions. And then also, again, continue to work on the finances to try to control costs and make things as equitable for the community without any nickel diming as we've seen for so many years. So that is the report of the CAC committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the Equestrian Center, I don't have a lot to report at this time. Susan talked about the donations directly for the Equestrian Center. And the latest news is the stables will have new plants, trees, and lights. Okay, and I heard yesterday there's a possibility of 3 more horses coming in for boarding, and so basically the Equestrian Center is going to be ready for events when they open up. So thank you. And the next report will be the landscape Director Horton. Where are you?
Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
I have nothing new to report, Madam President, since our last meeting, seeing how the Landscape Committee only meets every other month, but our next meeting is on February 10th of this month at 1:30, and it'll be a virtual meeting if anybody wants to tune in. Thank you.
Thank you. The M&C Committee is next. Director Hoffner.
Okay. Well, we met on December 9th. Our next meeting will be next week on February the 10th. Here's a number of items. This is a list that Ernesto gave us, and I can work off that. First of all, we discussed having meetings every month, and Ernesto felt that there was too much work for staff to have a meeting every month. So we're going to continue to have meetings every other month. And if the committee feels they need to get together, they can do that on a separate basis or call a special meeting if a vote is needed or something. So we talked about a seismic valves on all of the club buildings, and Yost was supposed to confirm that the company, that we have safety shutoff valves, and that shouldn't affect their insurance positively. The gas company is going to check on whether or not individual houses in the community are protected. Let's see. Okay. Well, we approved 4 items on the PAC meeting on the PAC. We discussed transfer switches in building and clubhouses 4 and 6, and we postponed those until we know more. First of all, from the Energy Committee, and also it's just what in the world we're going to do. I mean, why put the switches in when you haven't decided what kind of equipment you're going to switch onto it? Service center generator is a standby generator that we're going to look at this coming meeting, and I guess the welding shop is all going to also be discussed in the upcoming meeting. Okay, here's an interesting subject. staff will provide project summary sheets to the committee with floor plans, if applicable, before a project is started. That, what we were talking about earlier, staff should provide the floor plans before we vote on the thing, because we don't understand what's going on. And that was clear because we got to look at the kitchenette because Chuck made a video which showed us where the kitchenette on the first floor of the community center building was going to go, and made some discussion about it. Until that we saw that video, we had not one inkling of an idea of what was planned or where it was planned. You see, oftentimes we're asked to vote on things we simply don't know. And we're going to postpone that because there were some interesting findings as we went through that process. And then we set up a field meeting for the driving range review, and we met, and several directors met with Ernesto and the men from the golf course, and of course our contractor. And again, there were some angry, protestations or whatever. You're causing safety problems. And I want to say something about that. Okay, this project has been on the books since was devised in 2018, and it went into the Green Book in 2019. And all along claimed, well, there's a safety problem because mud puddles form, and so therefore drivers drive in there, and then they form ridges, and the ridges make the driving rough once the mud dries out, and so then now it's rough and bouncy, and it hurts the drivers when they go through there. And I'm asking myself, this has been going on for 3 years, and it's our fault? I don't understand that. Supervisor who's in charge of that thing can go and take a blade and level off those things. The drivers can take some common sense and not go into a water puddle with the ball pickup cart, okay? And if there's some residual bump or something like that, you can do what everybody does in a neighborhood where there's speed bumps. You go across them slowly. But I was offended, frankly, that each time we meet, the people are angry at us. I mean, the contractor and the golf maintenance man, and that's just not right. So we're not causing the problem, and we're not in a position to give those people instructions on how to do that stuff. They need to do that themselves. Okay, so I just wanted to get that off my chest. And then the contractor got a little bit uptight too, and he gave us an ultimatum. And one of the directors said, "Hey, I don't like to have a gun put to my head." So we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out on the 10th. We're going to go over the driving range item by item, and we'll have a much better picture on the 10th. Okay? That's all I have right now.
Thank you, Egon. So, Bert, do you have anything to say about the Clubhouse 1 renovation?
All I'm saying is that we're waiting for staff to set up a meeting with the potential bidders for the programmatic study, and we have not heard from them at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. Director Milliman, do you have any
energy
reports?
solution next.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Will you report on energy solution? I know that Sue said she was going to be out of pocket.
Right. We have met now again with Amoresco, who is a company that has done a free FREE feasibility study, and they've shown us the preliminary report. We made comments, and they've been upgrading the report that they will make to the MSC committee on the 10th of February. I mentioned the fact that we have to question what we're going to go with the board with, because initially we would normally have gone to finance. But since there is no cost, okay, to moving ahead with the program, I'm just, and I need an answer for this. I don't understand where finance fits into the picture, since there's no charge. This is a energy as a service type of contract, okay, in which they do the design, they do the installation after procurement of equipment, they do the operation, they do the maintenance, they do the monitoring. In essence, all they do is charge us the way the energy company, SCE, charges us on a per kilowatt per hour basis. So the question I have is, do I even take this to the finance committee, or do I go directly to the board? So that's something I need an answer regarding that. So it's looking good, and the fact that we have no outlay of capital whatsoever makes this a very, very attractive type of contract.
Okay. Bert, and to answer your question, and I think Jim's gonna, it still has to be evaluated by finance based upon the value of it. So Jim, go forward, please.
Yeah, Bert, I would think that any committee involved in a huge project like this, where there's significant savings by at least by the vendor's estimation, should have some level of finance participation so that we can validate all the wonderful savings that they say they're going to have, and also do some tests. So it's not to say, I mean, when you go by finance, you're getting a recommendation. You're not getting approval. You're just getting a recommendation. And I think any committee would want to get finance's input on a project of this level.
My interest here is the fact that there is no outlay of capital.
Well, outlay of capital isn't the definition of finance. There's income, there's savings, there's outlay of capital. So, anything involving a dollar bill, whether it brings in money or takes money out, should have some sort of financial review. I'm not understanding the reluctance to have a financial review and recommendation. I can understand you want to move forward quickly, but I think having additional input only assists the project.
Okay, because what we will be going to the board with eventually, it's not a contract or anything of that nature, because we have to go to competitive bid. And so what we're going to the board for is, the approval to go out for a competitive bid. And we're going to, again, lose a few months if we have to go to finance and then go to the board.
Okay. I know Maggie wants to speak, but the competitive bid is initiated in the committee, not by the board.
Well, I need the board's approval.
Right.
To go to multiple. No.
To go out for competitive bid? I know. Quote me if I'm wrong, but I thought the process was basically that the competitive bid is initiated in committee, and that's where they recommend to go forward either with finance and the board, because the board gives the final approval based on those bids, based upon the results of those bids.
So in essence, we don't have to go, if the committee says, okay, we can go out to competitive bid, and we actually don't have to go to finance or the board until we have gotten the final bids in.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
That makes it better for the process, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's okay. Less steps.
Okay. All right. Maggie, you had a comment?
No, that solved my comment.
Okay. All right. Jim, did you have something to say? No?
No.
Okay.
I think that process works fine. I would say that the benefit of having finance take a look at the entire thing does have benefit. I mean, there are things in the whole proposal that you may want to look at just for emphasis. So if you choose not to use finance at that point, that's fine. If you want to use us, fine. Eventually, we'll come into the picture.
Right. Definitely. Okay. Egon?
Yeah, the question I have, Bert, is what is this competitive bid stuff? I thought that Amoresco was either going to provide us a project or not do it. There wasn't. If Amoresco builds us something, they're not going to go out and ask somebody else to bid it. And if you think you're going to find several people to provide you free energy, I mean, that's interesting. But is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, okay, that Amoresco is going to charge us on a kilowatt per hour basis. They're going to probably invest $2, $3, $4 million. Okay. And they'll recover it over 25 years, which is what the period of the contract is. But, you know, there are other vendors that also are offering the similar type of service, similar type of contracts. And they may offer a lower kilowatt per hour rate. And so we should, once we finished with UNESCO and have the feasibility study, now go out and contact at least 2 or 3 or 4 other companies that are providing the same type of contract and ask them to come in and take a look. And on that basis, we can then have comparisons. They may not exactly provide the same type of solution. Okay? So,
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any more comments? All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the next item is...
Yvonne had something. Yvonne said.
Okay, Yvonne. Okay.
Bert, I just wanted to know how much real estate is this project going to take?
Actually, what we're looking at right now is using the parking lots and putting covers onto the parking areas and putting the solar panels up on parking areas. So, in essence, there'll be no real estate involved per se.
Well,
But we still have to build the roofs in order for it to go on, right? I mean, I'm not going to ask questions because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, but you're going to have a control room. So that's the only reason I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
we've got plenty of space.
I'm just asking how much real estate is it going to take?
Right.
Okay.
It'll be on the parking lots.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is Media and Communications. Director Milliman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Media and Communications Committee met Monday, January 18th at 1:30 p.m. And probably our most exciting event was the report from the Broadband Consultant Group, Broadband Group. They have done some very interesting research on our specifically on our cable TV, among other things. So I'm going to read to you some of the report, and Eileen, if you're still here, chime in if you need to. Mr. Nathan Rosenberg reported, and he referred to the full report of the Broadband Group, which was distributed to the committee prior to the meeting. He highlighted that the village has one of the best cable systems that the company has seen in the country, and that it's a valuable asset, and the staff has shown its ability to run and maintain this highly complex cable system. His main points were that Laguna Woods Village has this high-quality cable system and it's well-maintained, well at below market prices by a staff that knows the system thoroughly. Mr. Rosenberg also pointed out possible vulnerabilities at internet service, where both internet pipes come together on one street and they're located in the same trench on Via Campo Verde, which is a single point of failure. Other key risks for consideration he pointed out are in the full report. Several committee members asked questions and other directors had questions. Splitting nodes and fiber to the curb were mentioned as possible solutions to extending cable services in a market where internet is overtaking cable. He emphasized very much the fact that we need to continue to improve our internet and ride out the cable system and as it is. Eileen, did you have anything else you wanted to add at this time?
No, I don't think so, Joan, other than we are prepared to have Mr. Rosenberg and their team available at the next GRF meeting to make the full report and be available to answer any questions that the board members have.
Right, and that full report will be available to all of us online. So that was my principal introduction that I want you to be excited about, because these guys really did a thorough review of all of our cable systems and all the infrastructure, and I think including the radio tower, among other things. So we have a lot to report next month at the board meeting. That's the end of my report. Oh, our next meeting is changed. It's going to be Monday, the 22nd, not that Friday, because Friday is the COVID vaccine, and Eileen is going to be very busy at that time, and so am I. So we're going to put it off to Monday afternoon, the 22nd of February, next meeting. Thank you. Next report. Bunny? Can't hear you.
I can go ahead, if you wish.
The next report is a report of the Mobility and Vehicles Committee.
Okay, it's very short. We didn't meet in January, and our next meeting is tomorrow at 1:30. That's it.
Good. Bunny? We're at H. Do you want me to read it? The next report is the report of the Security and Community Access Committee.
All right, we didn't have a meeting in January, and our next meeting is this month, February 22nd at 1:30.
Still can't hear you.
Yeah, Madam Secretary, since this is just a technical moving forward, would you continue to handle the next?
I'll go ahead. Under, is there
Hold it.
Traffic hearings, Yvonne?
Right, our next traffic hearing, oh my God, I lost my glasses. Is going to be January 20th. The last one was at January 20th. We only had 2 residents that were called upon, and they were both found guilty. But anyway, our next morning session, and that's the one that I work on, is going to be March 30th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bunny, chime in when you can. Still can't. No. Okay, call in, why don't you? The next report is from the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Director Moldow. Bert? Disaster Preparedness.
Disaster Planning Task Force, okay. With the Disaster Planning Task Force, the Radio and Communications Subcommittee reported that they had a drill, and 10 of the 15 radios responded. So they have to look into what was the problem with the other 5. The chair Carlos Rojas reported that he's working with the American Red Cross regarding coordinating online training. And they've set up a tentative schedule on the website. And he's also reported that he's reaching out to the Good Neighbor captains to confirm they're still interested in working in the position that they have. The Village Energy Subcommittee, which was my subcommittee, reported about what was happening with Amoresco, and so they will be following what's going on at the M&C. And they did finally get approval for installing an antenna, which is needed at the top of the towers. The Pet Evacuation Subcommittee had a good response on the pet survey that they ran, and being worked at the Red Cross is regarding the evacuations and what can be done for pets during the disaster. So that's what I have to report on the Disaster Planning Task Force. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're on Jay.
Okay, thank you. I called in again. Director Hopkins, do you have a report on the software research group?
No, due to the malware incident, the leading staff person on that committee is not available at the moment. So we haven't really met with any substantive way for the last 2.5 months. But I understand the work is continuing.
Okay, thank you. So future agenda items, do we want to add anything to the future agenda items? We already added the broadband report for March. Okay, so Maggie?
I'm out of order, but we have 2 conflicting meetings, January 22nd at 1:30. We have security and access, and we have media.
Okay, well, we can work that out. Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go around the room. Are there any director comments? So if there are no director's comments at this point in time, we will recess for 1/2 hour. So it looks like it's 12, almost 12. So let's meet again at 12:30 and continue with the closed board meeting at that time. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the access is the same as for the board meeting, for the open board meeting. Okay? Thank you. We'll see you in a 1/2 hour. Thank you.